Why does the national media continue to sleep on South Carolina going into 2025? We are joined by everyone's favorite South Carolina media member, Mike Uva, to sit here and talk about the 2025 season, his takes on fall camp, and whether or not he would rather the Gamecocks make the college football playoff or his beloved Boston Red Sox win the World Series. All that and more. Locked On Gamecocks starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marler. Hope everyone's having a fantastic Sunday morning, afternoon, night, whenever you're listening to this. Maybe it's Monday. I don't know. But I hope you're having a fantastic day whenever it is. We are Locked On Gamecocks, and we are here every single day and delivering the latest on what to expect from South Carolina athletics, especially in this upcoming football season, because it's game week. And I tell you what, guys, I appreciate everyone making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Remember, we're a free and available podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Football season around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. All right, we're joined by a very special guest, everyone's favorite Gamecock media member, Mike Uva. Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm good, and if that's the case, the bar is set very low, and I would expect people to have better standards.
No, nonsense. We had JD Piquel on last week, and I kept saying he's got the best hair in media. But I mean, you're a close second here. This coif looks fantastic. I appreciate you joining us on the Sunday morning. Busy time of year, man. And let's just get into it. Before we get into the expectations of 2025, your thoughts overall, 30,000-foot view of fall camp so far.
I think the big thing that really stands out to me is the fact that the offense, even though you have a new offensive coordinator, the sense that I get from talking to people inside that building, it's much further along in comparison to even year two under Dal Loggins and even from just a couple of years ago. Now, I think the first reason why, and I think anyone could tell you, don't have to be Bear Bryant to know, is that you have LaNorris Sellers back. I mean, right. The guy puts the effort in. He puts the work in there. He's been constantly in that ops building throughout the entire offseason, even going back to the spring and going back to the winter. And he really had an opportunity to pick a lot of just the brain of Mike Shula. And that brings me to my second point. The fact that Shula, yes, you have a new offensive coordinator, but it's not really a new guy, right? I have a story that's going to be coming out, our first Mix in a Water Monday. It'll be with Davis Bevel, former Gamecock QB, right? And the unique thing with Davis, from talking to him and being in that room last year with obviously Sellers, with obviously Shula, is just how involved Shula was with all the players. Like, it wasn't just one of those analyst role where he was just sitting in the back, put his feet up, and I don't know if the guy dips or anything, but it's not. I don't know what exactly some of these meetings look like nowadays, but it wasn't that. He was very hands-on. Wasn't even just with Sellers, but with some of the backups as well, and just things like that. So I bring that up simply to say that yes, I do think there's going to be some growing pains in that first game. Defensively, you're losing a lot, right? On the other side of the ball, you're losing a lot from last year's team, 6 draft picks. Yeah. And I think the defense might take a slight step back naturally. But I think because of this offense, I really think this offense is ahead of schedule. And I think we're going to see a lot of great things, not just because of Sellers, but because you do have some familiarity in that room with Shula being back there.
I'm not saying they're going to do this every game, but if they put up 30 points a game, I have a very, very strong confidence that Clayton White's defense is not going to give up 31 points per game. You know what I mean? And I think I get all the concerns with the defense. Like everyone keeps talking about how they lose so much in the front seven, and even in that like nickel flex defense they have, where it's like you're losing 5 of your front 6 or whatever. Like I get it, but also like this defense is so opportunistic, and they've been so consistent at like forcing turnovers. It's like, if they are able to put themselves in short yardage situations or flipping the field, anything like that, like, I'll be fine with them giving up like a half yard more per carry or something. Like I think that probably be fine. The Shula thing is very interesting because everyone that talks about them getting a new OC, I think they forget about how bad it was for the first half of last year. Mm-hmm. And then also Shula is not just a guy they brought in. Like you said, he's been around there for a year already. Also, he's got like 40 years of experience. So I'm excited about that. Is there anyone on this roster And I feel like we talk so much about the receivers coming in. We talk about some of the guys coming in on defense from the portal. But is there anybody that we're not talking enough about?
I think Boaz Stanley, the transfer, right? I think that's one, simply because you're replacing a guy like Vershawn Lee, who was critical with being able to help Sellers in that first true year of being on the field, right?
Yeah.
The importance of being able to have that center quarterback relationship. And for Boaz to come in here and to be able to pick up some of the things that he's done already and to hear some of the things from talking to people, it feels like this guy has been in the system for a couple of years. So I think that's one of those positions. And because you're replacing 3 interior offensive linemen, when you can figure out that centerpiece, and as people remember, if you go back to the spring and you listen to what Shane Beamer said after the spring game, and I'm paraphrasing, but he did something that was kind of uncharacteristic, which was saying like, hey, look, we kind of have an idea of who our starting center is going to be, and it's going to be Boaz. So when you have an idea, okay, Stanley's going to be the starting center. Yes, we still have to figure out left guard. Yes, we still have to figure out right guard. It makes you feel a little bit more comfortable, right? Yeah. As opposed to, okay, let's say it was the starting left guard we have an idea about, but we still figure out the center and the right. So you have some of that to be able to help him. So I think that helped in the process of trying to figure out the offensive line. From everything that I've been told, with the ongoing battles, not just at both guard positions, but even at right tackle, it has been through the roof. And I get it. Naturally, every year, if you're a Gamecock fan, you're going to say, I want to see what the offensive line room is going to look like. I'll believe it when I see it. And I totally understand it. What they have done from a recruiting standpoint, never mind of what took place the other day and what they have coming in for the 2026 class, but what they've done from a recruiting standpoint over the last couple of years, whether it be the high school ranks, whether it be from the transfer portal, they have really created arguably, I'd say, their deepest offensive line room in a long time. I've been covering this team for 10 years. This is certainly the deepest I've seen it. I'm not going to say, okay, going back to the days of Garcia and, Condor, I'm not going to go that far. But I think because of that, that's something that Gamecock fans should talk more about. Yeah. Because of that, if you're able to just give Sellers just something, the guy can act like makeup. He can cover up some of those blemishes on the offensive line because he has the ability to get outside the pocket, to escape ability. He's not a statue. He's not going to be getting sacked as many times in comparison to a pocket passer if you did have some blemishes with the O-line.
Hey, I tell you what, like, listen, the Oklahoma game was bad. Like, obviously, we go in there and get 9 sacks, but what people forget about during that was that they also gave up 7. So it's like that. But after that, you did see a gradual increase, I feel like, in play from the offensive line. You brought this up, and it was going into my next question anyway. But the guard position, I feel like we knew there was going to be competition there. Like, you lose so much of the, like, all 3 guys in the interior offensive line. Do you get the feeling that we're going to see either a different face and name at right tackle, or at the very least some shuffling along that in going into the either the first game or the first month of the season?
I do, and the reason why is this: I still believe that Casey Henry can play some impactful snaps here at South Carolina. What I tell people is this: for him to have been starting as early as he was that 2023 season, and then he gets hurt.
Right.
2024, yes, he comes back, he plays every game. And it's not like, okay, it's not a running back. It's not like a receiver when you're talking about a knee injury where, sometimes when you're making those cuts, it can slow you down. But I've had these conversations with Marcus Lattimore. I've had these conversations with Nick Muse. I've had these conversations with different players who've gone through knee injuries and even offensive linemen. And the mental hurdles, like, I'm not going to give my D2 stories, but I've gone through, like, when you come back from an injury, but especially a lower body injury, your mind is going to slow down. It's just how it is, because you're going to be thinking about it just a little bit. So even though he did play last season, even though he played in every game, naturally your body's going to be a little bit slower. Right. So I thought Kaysen did some good things last year, but at the same time too, I felt like, okay, I feel like he's not the same guy that he can be if he does get that full year under his belt. He's able to come back, which is something else too with Oscar Attaway, come back from some injuries. I think he's going to be off the charts this year. But to know that Kaysen is being pushed to the limit, right? Hearing the things that they try to do with Big Tree, Oluwatosin Milolade, which is just a fun name to say.
Yes, the best.
Especially once you learn how to say it.
Not me. I haven't done that much for any of the names.
I just like saying Aluatosin Babalade. So moving Big Tree from that left guard spot to right tackle, I think it's a testament of just his professionalism and how he handled things last year, because you're bringing a guy like Josiah Thompson, and as we know with the offensive line, it takes a really special person to start on the O-line as a true freshman, never mind left tackle.
In this
so you try to figure out what you can do with Big Tree, and you move Tree over to right tackle now, and he's been picking it up. So I think ultimately what we're going to see at that right tackle spot more than anything, whether it's Kaysen, whether it's Tree, whether it's even Shivers, whoever gets that spot truly earned it. Because I think there's just so, like, again, to my first point, when we mentioned there's so much talent in depth in the offensive line room, and what's going on there right now, you're really getting a dogfight. And right now, as I say this, it sounds like it's leaning towards Tree, but we'll see what happens. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of oars on that depth chart whenever it comes out.
I tell you what, too, like, you can't really say this enough, because I don't like, I come from like covering like, like the entire conference or like other teams, and you've seen left tackles go in as a true freshman, but like what South Carolina has never had, it feels like, at least in the last decade, is like you've had some guys, maybe even you've had a like 5 guys across like the starting offensive line that you feel like are a good unit combined. That number 6, like the 6th guy to bring in, like just the most minimal depth possible, I feel like that's been something that's eluded, at least under Beamer, this team since in the last 4 years. And I think now you talk about it, like you've got a first and second string offensive line that you do feel really a lot better about, and the way they've been able to perform, especially and the talent. Like the floor of this program keeps rising, but the floor of like the competition at different positions, we talk about receiver all the time with like what they brought in there. I think you're spot on, man. What they brought in at the offensive line, I think, is even better. Let me get you out of here on 2 questions real quick. And my first question is, give me your expectations, what you think they should be for this team this year.
I think this is going to be a team that you want to, obviously knock on the door, be able to make the college football playoff, right? I get that. To me, the bare minimum is at least being able to get 8 wins and showing that consistency. And I know that to some people, if they get 8 wins, they don't make the college football playoff, that in some eyes, it's going to be like, okay, it's a failure.
Right.
Okay, you have LaNorris Sellers. I get that. I totally understand that. The reality is this, though. Even as talented as this team can be, and I truly believe they can be a team that can make some noise and make it into the college football playoff, the reality is there's a lot of unknowns, not just surrounding LaNorris on the offensive side, but surrounding the defensive side. And what I look at more than anything is the depth. I think that's what worries me more than anything, Chris, with the defensive side. It's not the fact that you're losing NFL talent on all 3 levels. This is a stat that I've been just friggin' pounding the drum on all offseason.
Yeah.
Yes, you lost 2 defensive tackles who were drafted, but you lost over 1,500 snaps from that D tackle room from just last season alone. And then obviously you're losing the Nagurski Award winner with Kyle Kennard being gone. You're losing your 2-time captain and all-SEC linebacker in Debo Williams. Never mind the fact that you're losing Bam Martin Scott and Demetrius Knight, O.D. Fortune at corner, Nick Eamon. So I think just that depth piece is what concerns me a little bit about, because if you recall in 2023, depth is what really hurt them in some positions. Linebacker, right? Stone Blanton, God bless him. I don't think he was as bad as some people made him out to be. I just think, unfortunately, he was playing way too many snaps because the guys like who were still here at the time, the Pup Howard he didn't have guys who are ready yet to go out there and play those snaps. So to me, I still think this is a team that could be knocking on the door of making the college football playoff. The schedule, yes, it is the same in a lot of ways, but you do have some tough road games. Missouri, for whatever reason, that's been a thorn in their backside going out there. Texas A&M is not an easy place to play at. LSU, right, at Ole Miss. So it's going to be a tough schedule, but then again, everyone has a tough schedule in the SEC.
Is there, and I lied to you, I got 2 more, but they're both very fast.
Right. I do the same thing all the time when I'm on the other side. You're good.
So is there one game on the schedule that you look at and you're like, because I've had this like epiphany moment last week, and I'm being down here in Baton Rouge now and all that kind of stuff, and like I think LSU's gonna be really good. I've also seen what LSU struggles with over the past several years with running quarterbacks. We know what happened last year, and then I look at the corner that was turned last year from this program with Beamer, where You go 2-10 in your first 12 games on the road in the SEC his first 3 years. Last year, you go 3-1, only lost to a 2-loss Alabama team. Maybe it's not LSU, but I do think they're going to be a lot closer in that game and possibly win it than people think. But is there a game on this schedule that you have circled? You're like, that one is like, we may not be getting enough love on this because it's considered like an automatic loss. Is there a game on the schedule you're like, that one I think is something South Carolina can win?
That LSU one's interesting. And it's not just for the fact that you're going into LSU against a team that, I think a lot of people are looking at as a team that could make some noise this year simply because you have a very good quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier there.
Yeah.
On top of that, the defense, the coaching staff, the defensive coaching staff was all fired before last year.
Right.
So now you have those guys there, the defensive players, they're able to get acclimated to the system a little bit more. You're replacing 2 talented wide receivers heading into last season. So like from an LSU standpoint, expectations are high. The reason I look at that game, never mind the fact that it's a very good team, you're heading into a hostile environment, is the fact that for South Carolina, there is a possibility that you could start off the year 5-0, right? Yeah. Even 4-1. You're coming off a bye.
Right.
You're coming off a bye. So I think to me, and every team in the country has 2 byes, but I think it's the fact of the timing. It's the fact that, okay, let's say they start off 5-0. Let's say they start off 4-1, whatever the case may be. What are you able to correct in that week before getting ready for LSU? Because as we saw last year, in one of their byes when they came off, they just were flat coming back up and playing Ole Miss. This is a team that there's not going to be a lot of secrets about at that point, right? The offense will be what the offense is, right? For week 1, okay, there might be some new wrinkles that Shula implements, but I think a lot of it still will be similar in a lot of ways. I think we'll see a lot of 2 tight end sets. One of my college teammates, he played for Shula, both with the Giants and the Panthers, part of that 2015 team. And that was one thing he said. He's like, he likes to use tight ends. But on top of it, and people don't talk about this enough, their number 1 wide receiver that season got hurt before the season even started, Calvin Benjamin. Right. So I bring that up because from an offensive standpoint, we don't know who this number 1 wide receiver be. They might not have a number 1 wide receiver, but guess what? Shula has gone through this before.
Right.
So I bring that up because what happens once you head into that bye week, and now you do have an opportunity as an offensive coordinator. Now you do have an opportunity as a defensive coordinator, as a head coach for Shane Beamer, and you guys are able to take a step back before that LSU game. What are the corrections that you make? And if you're able to come out there and, it's not unusual to see a team come out and have some different wrinkles, a couple of trick plays out there to try to catch the other team sleeping. What are they able to do? And if they can do that, again, all the what ifs, hypotheticals, popsicle headaches, but you start the year off 5-0, you go down to LSU, you win that game, and you start off 6-0. My goodness. Any Gamecock fan that feels like they haven't got respect in the last decade, watch how quickly that will change.
Yeah, I agree. All right, this is the last one I'm going to ask you. This is a tough one. It's probably be the toughest one you have to answer, and I cannot wait to hear your answer. Would you rather South Carolina make the playoff, and I'm going to even throw this in there, and get at least 1 win, or the Sox win a World Series?
See, here's what stinks. You're putting me in an awful spot because I am a diehard Red Sox fan. I'm a diehard Boston sports fan. And obviously I just covered the Gamecocks. Having said that, putting my selfish opinions aside, because I've seen 4 Red Sox titles.
They just had one in 2018.
Yeah, and never mind the Patriots, the Celtics. I mean,
here we go.
I've been misplacing some of the Boston championships around here.
Mike, listen, I'm a Sox fan, but I'm also from Atlanta, so I don't want to hear about the 2016 Super Bowl ever again in my life.
I'm going to do. I'm trying to remember one of my old philosophy classes in college that you just don't remember half the stuff. I think there was this lesson they taught where it's just you don't want to do something for your own good. And someone knows what the hell I'm talking about. I guess you can tell me it's in one ear and out the other after over a decade. But I'm going to pass it off, and I want to see others be happy because I've already seen the Red Sox win a World Series. Mm-hmm. I would love to see Columbia be able to win a playoff game. Yeah, I'd love, especially in Columbia.
That'd be awesome.
So, again, I'm going to put my selfish feelings aside because I feel like this is a very tough question for me to answer and I could get absolutely killed on. So I'm going to, I want Gamecock fans to experience that because that's something obviously we're only in the second year of this, right? So that would be a first to ever see. That'd be a really neat opportunity, and I know that would bring a lot of joy to Columbia. So, Gamecock fans, that's the answer. I want to see you guys win a playoff game.
That.
The Red Sox in the World Series.
And I'll also throw this in there, like as a Sox fan, like if you're younger than me. I wasn't old enough to remember what happened in '86, and we're not going to talk about '86, but that was the year I was born. So, like, we've never had to watch them lose a World Series. I will also say, if they get there and the Yankees are even still around and they beat the Yankees to get to the World Series, like that for me, I'm good. Like,
there's not a better place, and there's not a better place in South Carolina to watch the game than at Village Idiot, especially when there's Yankee fans in there, and they are walking out. And if Brian Glenn's there, depending on who the bartender is, they start playing, a little Frank Sinatra, spreading the news, and sad Yankee fans start walking down the stairs. So something that Southerners and Red Sox fans can agree on, we dislike Yankees. So I think we can agree on that.
All right, thanks, brother. Tell everyone where they can find you. I think they know, but just be on the safe side, and we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, check out Gamecock Central on the On3 platform. A lot of great stuff from my colleagues, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark, Jack Veltri, Kevin Miller. They do an outstanding job. We're going to continue to keep the coverage coming for Gamecock Central. If you want to follow me, some of the dumb stuff I tweet, Mike_UVA. Just like Virginia, UVA just wasn't smart enough to get in there.
All right, thanks, brother. All right, love having Mike on. That was great. Good stuff from him. Really, really insightful dude. And also kind of like I love the fact that he keeps it like objective, but also like keeps it very positive with like what I feel like we're all on the same page with expectations, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, loved having him on. We'll have him again soon. I know we have gone long for the first part of the show, so let me get into a quick little break here. When we come back, we're going to keep talking about a little bit about game week, what to expect this week, some thoughts on the end of fall camp, and then just some news and notes from around the program that we'll get into as well. Before we get into that, I do want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors of the show today, and that is Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Okay? You've probably heard the Rugiet ad read that we had a couple days ago when my helium voice came out of nowhere, and I sounded like the fourth chipmunk. So now, hopefully this sounds like a deeper and more normal version of my voice, or maybe it sounds the same. I don't know. Maybe I have no self-awareness, and the voice is just a huge problem I didn't know about. But regardless, I appreciate it. And also, I appreciate Rugiet for being a sponsor of the show. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. I tell you what, if traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer, and over 150,000 men have already made the switch. Again, I keep saying this, and we're going to corner this catchphrase. If you want strength to schedule hard, get with Rugiet and get Rugiet Ready. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege to get 50% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use the promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Listen, individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information for more info. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk more about the latest news around the Gamecocks at the end of fall camp. Now we are officially into game week as we are 7 days away from the start of the season. Locked On Gamecocks continues right after this. All right, welcome back in. Not a ton to go over. Not a lot of, not a lot of news that's come out, especially since the Darius Gray interview, or the Darius Gray commitment on Friday. It's been a good week. It's been a good offseason, I think, but I think we're all ready to see what this looks like going into year two. I just want to go into a quick part of the game week, what our plan's going to be, and then we'll keep it short for today. We got another episode dropping tonight was a Squad Show episode where we talk about all of us discussing about which 3 permanent opponents we think we want to see for the SEC. So make sure you get ready for that. That should be coming in here as well. So here's the thing. So the line on this game, we've talked about this before. It's a little bit interesting. The line on this game, I think it was right around 10 points at first. And then it is now at it would drop to 8.5. I saw it at 7.5 last week. ESPN Bet currently has it at 8. And that is going into the final 7 days for this game. I think this is such a huge game. I'll just give you my 30,000-foot view thoughts on this because I think Virginia Tech's going to be better than people think. I think they're going to be better than people think. It's a program that is very similar to South Carolina in a lot of ways in terms of like it's a tough, hard-nosed, gritty program that has been overlooked for a lot of times, but also enjoyed a lot of success at times as well. It's probably been a more successful program overall than South Carolina in the history of it. Obviously, Frank Beamer, a lot to do with that and what he did there in turning that, Blacksburg, Virginia, just a military institute into what it is now, which is, I think it's a military institute. Maybe I'm thinking of VMI. I don't know. I'm an idiot. Anyway, but like either way, it's one of those things where they have been kind of overlooked. They've never really broken through. Like they did make a national championship game, I think, in '99 against Florida State. They lost that game. But I mean, you're talking about a program that has ascended to the highest of heights, but they've also been kind of down recently. They've been able to recruit well. It's a very, very fertile recruiting ground in Virginia. Obviously, we know that with Darius Gray committing down to South Carolina recently. So there's that part too. And it's also one of those things where they share something in common with South Carolina, which is it is regardless of if they are a 10-win team or a 5-win team, they are woven into the fabric and the pageantry of this sport. Their inner Sandman interest on the field is just as iconic as 2001 being played, going out of the tunnel and sandstorm and all that kind of stuff. So iconic venues, iconic places. Obviously, this is not going to be played on a home campus. This is going to be played in Atlanta. I love that part of it for South Carolina. I think it's going to be a game where I'm interested to see how South Carolina comes out of the gates because, especially talking to Mike, one of the things I loved about what Mike said was he was fired up for the fact that going into this year, you're fired up about the fact that they're going into this year, there obviously are concerns and all that kind of stuff with like the defense, and it's the same stuff we talked about over and over and over again. But I also think that talking with him, there's a lot of other key points of confidence that people just aren't focusing enough in or on. The center position, right? The thing with Mike Shula and how involved he was last year versus this year, and how there might not have been as big of a disparity or gap in terms of his involvement from 2024 versus what he's doing in 2025. People are not going to look at Mike Shula and think it's a sexy hire no matter what. Maybe it's his haircut. Maybe it's his name, just Mike. Maybe it's his laid back attitude. I don't know. Maybe it's because he coached at Bama before Saban. I'm not really sure what it is. But to quote our friend Brooks Austin from a while back, ball knowers know that Mike Shula knows what he's talking about. You bring in an offensive coordinator that's been around for 40 years and most of it at the highest level. That excites me. I also love the fact that what he brought up with the 12 personnel concepts. I don't think we'll see a lot of 13 personnel, but I think we'll see a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight end sets, and I think you'll see. I think this offense has a chance to be very, very special. And when him and I were speaking about some of these games and just the way that the defense is going to be, like, I don't think this is going to be a defense that's going to be just ferocious up front and stuff you in a locker and have those things. It might be a more bend but don't break defense. It might be. But I also know that even that 2023 season, you talk about with all the turnovers they forced like 17 inside the red zone or something crazy. Like that number will always stand out to me. Like that is a really, really good job from Clayton White, and we've seen it's been consistent over and over and over again. So I'm interested to see how they come out of the gates. That first 30 minutes, how they look on script. How does the defense look on script? What is Virginia Tech going to try to do from pressure point situations, trying to attack this team? I think they are going to try to run the football. I think they're going to try to run between the tackles. Another thing that's been brought up that you guys have actually have brought up a ton. I brought this up the other day about how you have the top 10 recruits of all time. You've had 10 total. What do you call it? 10 total 5-stars in the history of the program, and 3 of them are on this year's team. You just signed Darius Gray, or you got Darius Gray to commit. That is your that is a 4th one. So you currently on in program history that are of players that have played or are playing now, you only have 9. Darius Gray would be 10, but he's not on campus till next year. But 33% of those players, 3 out of the 9, are on this year's roster. I didn't even think about this, but Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, kid that was like the number 11 overall player in the country coming out of high school, I believe from Lakeland, Florida, which is like anybody that's familiar with high school football, that is a powerhouse that puts in tons and tons and tons of D1 talent all the time. So he's a former 5-star. That's not even including that player. And then you got, again, Sean Murphy at linebacker, former top 100 player. I love what Fred Johnson brings to the table physically. Reports out of camp too, he's getting a little more comfortable being the vocal leader. Like, you're going to have some bumps in the road, but I think that what we're going to see this year, is, listen, maybe you have some bumps and some ups and downs early with defense, and then that's the part of the team that gets better as the season goes on. Because as we saw a year ago, and as anyone that's ever played football or watched a football season unfold, most of the finished products we see on a elite football team or a good football team, it's from a team that gets better every week and then like starts to gel, whether it's from the offensive line or these new pieces and cogs you're trying to put in this machine and this system. All those things sometimes, more often than not, will get better throughout the year, right? And you don't want the team you have in week 12, most of the time, you don't want that to be what you have in week 1. Like, you don't want to peak too early. You want this team playing at the highest level as the season goes on. We saw it last year, especially offensively, that flip that was switched going in from game 6 to game 7, really even before that when they got to the Bama game. You saw that switch get flipped, right? That may be what happens this year with the defense. The defense may struggle a little bit early. The really good news about this is I think the offense is ahead of schedule. I think the offense is going to be better than people realize, and they're going to be able to put up 30 points a game pretty consistently. The first games of the season are all very winnable things. You can get out of this first month at 5-0, and I'm fired up about it. So I look at this, and I think the Virginia Tech game, I think they're going to try to attack us like right down, like they're going to try to run the football down our throats and try to come right at you. That's fine. I like what the guys that South Carolina has in place. Maybe you also see, especially with something that Mike said, with from a depth standpoint, since you don't have as much, especially in the interior defensive line, you got a lot of talent out there at the edge rushers, not as much on the interior defensive line. Maybe something else we see from this offense. Maybe you see it not be as hurry up or as not explosive, but you're trying to run a little bit more, be a little bit more aware of managing the time and the clock and stuff like that, so you can keep your defense rested and it's not so one-sided. We see it with Heupel. He struggled with that a lot early. I don't expect that to be something that South Carolina struggles with, but I just wonder, 30,000-foot view, if these are things that we're going to see unfold, especially week 1 in Atlanta. I'm very excited about it. I can't believe that I left Atlanta after living there for 37 years total. And the first year I leave after 1 month of being gone, of course, South Carolina's playing there that first weekend. If we hadn't spent all this money on the damn ring and furnishing this house, we would love to be in Atlanta, but we will be elsewhere during the weekend. I hope you guys are going. If you are, make sure you are sending pics, letting us know on social media, all that kind of stuff. It should be a lot of fun. And we'll definitely get together at some point soon. I'm telling you, when the South Carolina LSU game happens that weekend, we're going to figure out some way to get together, a get together outside of Tiger Stadium and cheer on the Gamecocks as that game goes on. That is all for today's show. We got another one coming tonight. If there is anything you guys are wondering about Virginia Tech, we're going to be diving into the week ahead and going through our typical game week stuff that we did last year, looking at the game, the key points for South Carolina, what we think Virginia Tech's going to do, a look around the SEC. On Thursday, we got a couple of interviews with Mike Bratton. Will be here on Fridays. He'll be here every Friday this fall. So it should be a lot of fun now that we are officially in week 1 of the season. I appreciate you all. Hope you have a good rest of your Sunday night or Monday morning, whichever one we are at when we're listening to this. And until next time, go Cox.